Live. All right, what up, people? It's your boy Chig from Gooner Eagle Eye coming to you with a little bit something different today. I'm going to talk to you about the key, absolute epic battle for the top four. And I figured what better way to do that than to bring on a couple of different fans that you would ordinarily see. But these guys, you guys have seen them before. I'm bringing on Stel and I'm bringing on Robby. Say hello to the people, guys.
Hello. How are you? Hello, everybody.
And Stel?
I thought I'd let Robby go first because his team are on top of mine.
Listen, they're on top of both of ours. Let's just be honest.
Well, yeah. Well, listen, Robby's got something to laugh about. We haven't.
Well, let's get into it. So, I mean, for those of you who've seen these faces for the first time, this is my good friend Stel. He has his own podcast, Shoot the Defense. Go and check it out and see it. It's always a good listen, entertaining listen whenever I go on there and listen to his shows. And he usually has a variety of guests. He is a Man United fan. I know, hold the six jokes in place for a second. I know you guys like getting at Man United fans. We're not that far off it. So let's calm down. And then also Robby, who you guys have seen on a few occasions. As he said to me the other day, his heart is with Preston and his head supports Liverpool. So for the purpose of this conversation, he supports Liverpool. All right?
Yes.
Robby, we haven't asked which head.
Which head? The mushroom-shaped head.
Let's take it easy, man. Let's take it easy. So,
not that kind of show, yeah?
So for those guys who've been following me on Twitter, apologies. Between, let's just say, a couple of us had a couple of really difficult technical issues. And you could probably judge by our faces. I was one of them. And I'll let you guess who the other one was. So apologies for our lateness. But let's just jump into it. Clearly, the battle here is for the top four. I feel like as much as it breaks my heart, Tottenham are running away from us, and I don't see them realistically being caught by any of us three, really. City are starting to get their shit together and are slowly starting to separate themselves from the pack. So realistically, three don't really go into one, and it seems to be the battle for the last Champions League place between us three teams. Let's just go into it. Robby, you're on top of the pack. You hold fourth place at the moment. You know, how do you see your team performing at the moment?
Do you know what you were saying about Twitter just now? And if in fact, I did tweet it. I wish I took some screenshots of people just going into meltdown, absolute meltdown, because we were 1-0 down at Stoke. And like, listen, I think I said to you guys, talk to you both separately and on the show at the start of the year. If Liverpool finish top four, I'm happy to receive that imaginary fourth place trophy. I'll take that because it's a sign that we've improved, right? And at this point in time, I'm just about progression. I'm just about physical, tangible improvement that you can see. So with what we've got left, we've got West Brom away, Palace at home, Watford away, Southampton at home, West Ham away, and Middlesbrough at home, right? And on paper, we should win every game. But you and I know you don't play on paper. Here's the other side of the coin. If we beat West Ham away, and if we beat West Brom away, that, for me, is a massive, massive sign of our improvement, because those are games that last season and the season before that and the season before that, those were games that we would lose. And it's going to be tight for that fourth spot. There's no questions about it, because City's games are a bit wobbly. And of course, obviously, Arsenal have still got to play Spurs, and United have still got to play Spurs.
Yeah.
It's going to be close. Like, I can't call it. I think we're going to do it, but there's no guarantees. There's literally no guarantees we're going to do it, because we've lost four of our best players. Without them, well, you saw at the weekend. You saw exactly what happened at the weekend. That's why Twitter was in meltdown for half an hour until everything was all right again. What can you do? You just shrug your shoulders. I can't control any of this. All we can do is go, right, we know exactly how West Ham are going to play next Sunday. We know exactly how they're going to play. And all we can do is just sort of, you know, clench your bum cheeks, hope for the best, and fingers crossed we could actually, you know, win some headers at some corners, you know? So at this point, we move from micro disaster to micro disaster every week. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, we'll see what City frightened me. Let's put it that way. City frightened me.
So, Stel, when I initially brought up the subject of doing this video, you had a very pessimistic tone. And I find with United fans at the moment, you either have the really optimistic United fans that see the positive and are absolutely convinced that they are going to make that top 4 place. And then you have the slightly more downbeat guys who are a little bit like, oh, yeah, it's the players that are letting Jose down, and there's still a lot of work to be done on this team, and it just shows how far or how much crap Alex Ferguson left us and how we're still having to figure bits out. Which camp do you fall into?
I'm in the realist camp.
Okay.
Because you got optimistic, you got pessimistic, you got realist, and I'm a realist. I said it at the beginning of the season. We have a lot of deadwood in this squad, a lot. And I've been proved right again. You know, Chris Smalling, Phil Jones, Michael Carrick, Wayne Rooney, Rojo, Darmian, Blin, the list goes on. What Mourinho has done so far, for me, has been nothing short of a miracle. And I know people are going to be thinking, oh, you know, he spent X amount of money and he's done this and he's done that, and you guys haven't been scoring goals. Fine, I get it. But you know what? Who doesn't spend money? Okay. Well, come on, now you spent close to 90 million this summer, right? But that's by the by. But you know, when you look at what he's had to endure, what he's had to deal with, he's had to tidy up the mess that 3 managers have left behind. Now, when Van Gaal left and Mourinho came in, you had players like Schneiderlin saying Van Gaal made us feel like a robot because of what his training methods, the way that he told players, or should I say, shouldn't express themselves in certain ways. He was telling strikers to take a touch in the box before shooting. I mean, people talk about the lack of goals this season, but we failed to score in 10 league games last season. And I think 12 out of our 19 wins were by 1 goal or more. And this, do you know what I mean? So this notion that Mourinho hasn't done anything great, it baffles me. Granted, we're in 5th or 6th now. 6th? Are we 5th? I don't even know where we are. We're 5th. We're 5th now, okay? Which is where we ended last season. So has there been progression? If you're looking at it in that sense, no. But at the same time, you got to think about the type of competition there is now. Last season was Leicester, Arsenal, City, and Spurs. Yeah. This season is Chelsea, Liverpool, United, City, Arsenal, Spurs, even Everton. So that's 7 clubs vying for a top 4 place. So really, am I a realist? Yeah. Am I an optimist? No, I'm not optimistic that we can get top 4, but that's only because of the teams that we have left to play. Now, you can only beat what's in front of you. I get it. But after Anderlecht on Thursday, we've got Chelsea. After Chelsea, we have Anderlecht and then Burnley away, which is a difficult game. Then we've got the likes of, I don't know, we've got Spurs to come. We've got City on the Thursday
night, haven't you?
That's right. That's right. And then Swansea, who obviously are fighting relegation. It's not going to be an easy game. Yeah. Then Arsenal, obviously. Then Spurs, which is the penultimate game of the season, which could, you know, be a tipping point, a turning point where the title goes. I mean, you never know what could happen if we beat Chelsea. You know, I won't be surprised if Mourinho turns around and says, "Let's play a reserve team against Spurs and make sure that they take the title." You never know. And then there's Palace on the last day. Will they be safe? I don't know. So again, I'm not optimistic. My main focus now is the Europa League. At the beginning of the season, I was saying, it's an abortion of a tournament. We don't need it. It's a distraction. But then as the tournament's progressed And knowing how poorly our league form has been, and we're 21 games unbeaten. Imagine that. Our form is poor. I mean, that doesn't make sense at all. Like, it's because we're not getting the wins. But at the same time, you know, again, we need the Europa League to get into that Champions League. And to be fair, if we win that and then 6th, I don't care, because we're in the Champions League next season. But I'm telling you this now, mark my words, next season, it's not going to be like this. You're not going to see United drawing blanks in 4 or 5 games. We're going to be giving teams hidings next season. If he brings in Lukaku, which I've heard is a goer, and Griezmann, which is on the cards, I think we'll be looking at different United next season. He brings a couple more defenders, which I think is going to happen. We'll be discussing something different next season, I think.
Okay. From my perspective, I probably, as a lot of Arsenal fans be watching this and agreeing, I'm pessimistic. Quite frankly, I think we're right behind the 8 ball just because of our finish to the season. I mean, I know you guys have picked out a couple of games you're a little bit worried about, but our last 4 games are, bar Chelsea, they're probably the worst type of fixtures that I could have picked for Arsenal. I mean, just to give you an idea of some of the fixtures that we're finishing. So we've got Palace tomorrow, which in my mind is not a foregone conclusion. It just depends what sort of Palace turn up. Middlesbrough.
They're on it, mate. Listen, Chris, they are on it.
Yeah.
They are on it.
They are. They beat Chelsea at home. You know,
they are. You know, it's pure Allardyce as usual, and it's took him a bit longer than it normally does. But you can see that they are fully on it.
Yep. And then
they've turned the corner, or at least seemingly so. Their position in the league table does not reflect how well they're playing Allardyce's brand of football.
I agree. And then we've got Middlesbrough literally next Monday. Well, not tomorrow, but obviously the following Monday. And then you've got Sunderland at home. Oh no, that's been postponed. I just remembered because of our involvement in the FA Cup. So who knows when that will be rescheduled.
I love the FA Cup, boys. You're both in that, aren't you?
Oh, flip. And then you've got.
Sorry, I totally forgot all about it. That's no disrespect to the competition or anything. I forgot about the FA Cup semi-finals.
Don't get me wrong, it's a cup I'd like to win, but I think a lot of it, and a lot of Arsenal fans feel like if we win it, it will mask a lot of cracks that are already there.
I'll tell you what, boys, I don't know if this is, it's certainly new to me, but quite worried about it because Chelsea are on the verge of a double and nobody seems to be talking about it at the moment. And they're on the cusp of a double. At this juncture, at least.
Yeah. I completely agree, and it's very possible that they could do it. And then you've got Leicester City, who have all of a sudden remembered that they're champions and are starting to play like that. And we've got them at home, which some Arsenal fans might say, yeah, but we usually beat them at home. I don't think that would be an easy game. And then our last 4 games of the season are Tottenham away, United at home, Stoke away, and Everton at home, which. It's just horrendous. That is a horrendous run. I honestly don't know what. I don't see us being in the shed down. If I'm being honest, what is your opinions of where you see Arsenal fitting in? Because I could imagine whenever Twitter does explode, generally it's Arsenal fans that are causing it. So
that's true. Yeah, it is that is true, and with good reason. With good reason. Listen, I said to you before, last time I was on the show, I said to you before, you can be as mad with Wenger as you want. It's the board you want to be a lot more mad with. And that's something that you should be, that's where, in my opinion, you should be pointing a lot of your anger and disappointment. That being said, Arsenal have no right to a trophy. They don't.
Yeah.
You know, and there is a huge gamut of Arsenal fans that think differently. That's fair enough. I appreciate where you're coming from. Go and have a chat with a Newcastle United fan.
Yeah.
You know where I'm coming from? So, listen, Arsenal have, in the past, we know this, like that February dip that they have, and then all of a sudden they'll galvanise themselves for the running. Those fixtures do not make it easy. They do not make it easy by any stretch of the imagination. And you look at it and you think, I immediately think to myself, well, it's not looking good. And again, I come back to Manchester City. That is the thing for me. Is Manchester City are the one thing that you just cannot seem to. Because when you look at their run-in, that's what worries me. See, so obviously they've got Southampton next weekend, Arsenal in the semi-final. Then it's the derby with United. Then they've got Middlesbrough away. They should win that. City at home. They should win that. Leicester City at home. They should win that. Watford away. They should win that. When you look at their fixtures on paper, the United game is the big question mark. But those 4 or 5 final games, they should win them, and they should win them at a canter.
But that's why I don't even really count them. I think third place is gone at this point.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah, really. I mean, that's again. This is like I said. This is why I'm worried about them. That's the team that I'm worried about because I want to finish third.
Of course you do.
Foolishly, you guys are talking about fourth, and I'm like, dude, like third is still there. Third is still there.
Still
have that amazing ability to flat track bully those sides that you expect them to flat track bully, right? And when you look at that fixture list, let's have a look at the fixture list again. Hang on a second, very quickly, and you go right. Your problem is the away games. Your problem is your away games. Stoke, Arsenal. Stoke have notoriously beat the shit into you almost every time they play you.
Yep.
Middlesbrough away on a Monday night.
Bear in mind,
listen, they're fighting for their lives. They were quite good against Swansea the other week.
We drew them at home as well.
Yeah. They think they're going to get out of it by drawing games, which, listen, fair enough, because they don't look like scoring on a brothel. That Leicester at home game is a Wednesday night. We'll see what happens with what happens in Europe with Leicester, because they could just drop off a cliff if it all goes pear-shaped as well.
But do you know what, Rob?
Go on.
Do you know what, Rob? I'm going to tell you this now, yeah? Arsenal's running isn't going to determine whether Arsene Wenger stays or not. It's going to determine whether or not a certain group of players will stay or not. Because I'm telling you this now, it is all about bottle, and it's all about having the whether you want to win these games or not. Okay. Yeah. You mentioned Spurs, right? If Spurs are in the title hunt, which they probably will be, right? If Arsenal lose that game, can you imagine the meltdown, right? Imagine if Arsenal lose to Man United, who, if we get through to the next round of the the Europa League, I say Champions League, the Europa League, right? That game is going to be definitely moved to Sunday anyway, right? So our players are going to be knackered. If they don't beat us then, and then they're going to have to go to Stoke, who, to be honest, I think the deck chairs are out. But in this game, it's always bitty because of the whole Shaw-Cross, Ramsey thing that happened in the past. Yeah, and then you got Everton at home on the last day of the season because Gooner ain't going to want to lose that game. So this is going to determine whether or not whether or not Wenger stays, but whether or not certain players are going to stay. You're going to need your Czechs, your Koscielnys, you're going to need your Ozils to step up. If these players do not step up, mark my words, I'm not just singling out these particular players. I'm talking about the players as a group, your Bellerines, your Monreals. If these players do not step up, Wenger will sign a new contract. I am telling you this now, right? And if he signs for 2 years, what he's going to do, he's going to strip this club get rid of the crap and bring in players for the last 2 years to have the next manager say, here you go, I've left you these players. It's down to you now. Because I'm telling you this now.
Does an outgoing manager have the right to decide what the club should be doing in the future?
Time out. What did Ferguson do? Ferguson had to be the next manager.
I'm asking you a question. Does he have the right to do that? Because like you just said yourself to me a few weeks ago, in fact, you said to me that Ferguson left Moyes with a bunch of crap. And that's one of the things that Man United fans all agree on. So I'm asking you, does an outgoing manager, whether it's now or whether it's in 2 years' time, have the right to decide who a new manager should or should not be working with?
But I'm not saying, listen, at no point did I say that Wenger or any manager has the right to do that. But what's to say that he doesn't? You want to use Ferguson as an example? Yeah, Ferguson did leave Moyes with a lot of shit, but Moyes stepped in a lot of shit himself with the way that he was acting, getting rid of the backroom staff, bringing in his own people, making United players train at a public park the night before a Champions League game against Bayern Munich instead of using the Allianz Arena, telling Rio Ferdinand to watch DVDs of Jagielka and how to defend. You cannot say that, it was all down to Ferguson. Ferguson had a big hand in it. But David Moyes dug his own grave. But when it comes to Arsenal, right, the board trusts Wenger to such a point that they will let him do whatever he wants. But as I said before, mark my words, this run-in will basically determine the future of a lot of Arsenal players. Because your Arsenal fan TV lot have put so much pressure on these players to perform that if they don't, some of them turn around and say, well, it's the manager's fault. Some of them will take, responsibility, some being the operative word. But a lot of them will need to look at themselves in the mirror and say, right, this team, and challenge for titles and trophies. I don't want to be a mid-table team and just sit on 50 grand a week and not have any aspirations. I don't know. But it's the same with some United players anyway. So, anyway, whatever.
Same with some Liverpool players, boys. It's the same all over. What you got to do, I agree with everything you've just said, basically there, Stel. And what you've got to appreciate is that I am a long-time admirer of Wenger. But what you're talking about him doing, and I think he will do it, is something that we have not seen him ever do before. For him to have a full-on, proper cull, like the opening scene in fucking Bambi, is completely out of character, and it's outside of the way of his culture, the way his mentality, and the way that he's done things. Having sent Wiltshire on loan to Bournemouth, and he can't even get a regular game at Bournemouth, tells me so much. That is something where he's been testing the waters about how the player base will react to being asked some very, very serious questions, and it's time to. It's absolutely is definitely time for a cull, and it's probably 2 or 3 years too late with quite a few of the players, realistically, that just have continuously underperformed, severely underperformed to their much exhausted ability. And people like John Cross have a big say in this. There's a lot of people in the press that have put quite a few Arsenal players on pedestals that they thoroughly do not deserve.
Yeah, Robby, and the fans have got. Listen, the fans have got to blame for this as well. Don't forget, you can't sit there and say, "Oh, Koscielny, I'm going to call him Boscielny because he's a boss." He's not a boss. Look at him in the European Championship final. Look at the European Championship final. In the final, it was brushed off like it was a bloody packet of quavers or something. Brushed off.
To be fair, to stick up for my fan base for a little bit. There's nothing wrong with believing in the players. For me, I think where we've gone wrong sometimes is that we're very quick to destroy confidence of players. That's where I think we go wrong. So I actually think it's kind of ironic that you say, we've boosted Koscielny, we've done, because a lot of Arsenal fans have been criticised for not believing in the players and for booing the players and criticising the players, and we should back the team. And I think as long as there's a balance of the two, and not, I personally completely and utterly think it's disgusting booing your own players. Just like I think it's disgusting.
I don't really see how it helps. It's not as if, I know this from experience with the brother that's played professional sport. Getting on a player's back doesn't help. They are acutely aware if they're playing poorly. They're not stupid. They know they're having a bad game. What can you do?
I think this is where we're gonna have a difference in opinion. Now, if you'd have said this to me 5, 6, even 7, 8 years ago, I'd have said, yeah, it's wrong to boo these players. It's wrong to boo them. But then when I see people like Jesse Lingard on 75 to 100 grand a week, right, doing nothing for 38 games a season, right, and all he can do is go on Instagram or Snapchat and dab and dance and do these little hand gestures like he's some kind of rude boy, that is why I'm saying boo certain players. Because if he's not pulling his finger out and he's not performing and he's on 75 to 100 grand a week and all he's doing is taking the piss out of fans, to boo him. You know, I saw Gary Neville the other day on Twitter saying, "Oh, you're not a true United fan if you're unhappy about Jesse Lingard because he's a local lad." I'm like, first of all, Gary Neville, you supported Bury, okay, not Man United. And secondly, you co-own or you part-own a club that wants to aspire to be like Man United. So don't be talking about loyalties.
Yeah.
Don't be talking about loyalties.
I'm with you on that one, Stel. I mean, let's be fair. Lingard is completely unaware of
He's dog shit.
Bell end he looks.
Two things.
Bell end he looks.
I completely agree with you about Lingard. I think he's one of the most overrated players in the game today.
And Rashford, throw him in there as well.
Honestly, I don't get the Lingard thing. I really don't. And secondly, the only other thing I would say is all teams have the type of players. Oh, and it's flipping Bellerin. And for some stupid reason, he's more concerned with growing his hair long than concentrating on developing his game. And all I want is this guy to just show how good of a player he can be. And instead, he's more interested in getting into Twitter feuds saying long hair don't care.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, right? When Kieran Richardson got his first big contract at Man United, he drove into training in a Bentley. Roy Keane went up to him and he said, "Right, this ain't on, right? You ain't a big shot. You ain't won nothing, right?" What did he do? He took it back. Yeah? This is what I'm saying. These players, right, take the piss out of fans. And to be honest, we sit there and we laugh at Arsenal Fan TV and you know, this one said this and that one said that. But you know what? There's still a tiny bit of element of truth in what they're saying. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, well, okay, fair enough. Okay, it's not good to get on your players' backs. But as I said, when they're on 100, 150, 160 grand a week, and then they're turning up putting performances like that, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
The only bit I do agree with you on is particularly in our case, but in all football fans' case, but particularly in our case, we pay the highest damn flipping prices to watch a bunch of crap.
No, but you see that I don't agree with, because you got the right not to go. You can choose not to go. This is what I'm saying.
This is you say that, but it's your team, bruv.
Listen, I gave up my season ticket at Man United 7 years ago because I was fed up with the way that the Glazers were running the club. It kills me, but at the same time, I'm like, no, you've taken enough of the club's money, and certainly enough of my money. You're not using the money to spend it wisely or correctly. They didn't even spend it at all at the beginning. Do you know what I mean? I think Stoke and Aston Villa actually spent more money than us in the first 5 or 6 years.
This is why with respect, this is why I utterly disagree with you. If you love your team, of course you're going to want to support your team. I'm sick of Arsene Wenger, but there's nothing that's ultimately at the end of the day is going to stop me from putting Sky Sports on and watching a game. I can't not do that. I still pay a lot of money for Sky Sports even if I don't go and watch a game. And I still do that because I love the club. Ultimately, the club pisses me off. They break my heart. Sometimes I'm screaming and shouting on here like a madman. I don't do that because I'm trying to be entertaining. I'm doing that because they personally hurt me. They care about me. And if you love your club, of course you're going to want... Even if you think to yourself, flip me, I'm a mug. Why do I pay these prices? But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're still going to go back. And the club knows that. And they take advantage of that. They take advantage of their love for people's clubs.
Yeah. Listen, boys, I see both sides of this argument, and I find myself in full agreement with both of you, curiously. The other thing to remember is, if, Stel gave up his season ticket, and there was, 10,000 people on the season ticket list, Stel, something like that, to take your ticket. And it'd be the same with you, Chiggy. It'd be the same with everybody at Arsenal. The season ticket lists are enormous. And, Stel's took a stand, right? And I admire that, right? Because he loves his club just as much as you do. He's still watching the games, but he's took a stand.
And let's make it clear, the clubs are still getting a big cut from these TV companies that we're still paying these subscriptions for.
Christ. Honestly, the amount of money swimming about in the game at the very, very top level is absolutely enormous. It really is devastating. And, Jesse Lingard is a great example of this. Mr. Bellerin with his hair, Why don't you just go and get hair extensions? You can afford it. If you want long hair, mate, go and do what Gaza did. Gaza did it for a prank, spent 300, 400 quid on getting long hair just for a joke. This is the culture thing. This is the issue around Arsenal. That the mentality is on the wane. We are a Snapchat generation, Instagram and all that stuff. It's seeping in more and more and more. That you see tweets from players going bitterly disappointed with the result at the weekend. Thanks to the fans for all their support. Oh, by the way, here's my £200 pair of Jordan trainers. Don't they look awesome? That's happening more and more and more. And the big problem, Stel, for me, is that people have become accepting of these really low standards of professional behaviour.
Do you know, that's a fantastic segue into what I was about to say, Rob, right? Because you mentioned the tweets, you mentioned, substandard performances, right? David De Gea didn't play today because Mourinho said that he had a little issue to deal with, which is obviously, he wants to move to Real Madrid and it's going to happen. And to be honest, I would drive him to Manchester, whichever airport he wants to go to, right? Because let me tell you something, right? He was tweeting every time United scored, oh yeah, Mkhitaryan, oh this one, yada, yada, yada. But I'm sitting there thinking, geezer, right? People say that he's the best goalkeeper in the world. On what basis? Tell me on what basis is the guy the best goalkeeper in the world? Because I'm seeing a goalkeeper that at 24, how old is he? 24, 25 now? He doesn't have a starting position. Doesn't know what his starting position is. Right, so he doesn't come out to clear balls. He can't catch crosses. Doesn't want to catch them. Too scared of getting clattered into. Right, he's still wearing Pampers. Right, too worried about his hair, like Bellerin. Right, and I don't see anything special about this goalkeeper. I really don't see anything about him. And people saying to me, "Oh yeah, you're chatting shit," and he's the best goalkeeper in the world. Based on what? When I hear people say to me, "world class," I associate the word world class with Buffon, Ronaldo, Schmeichel, Baggio. People calling him a world-class goalkeeper. Based on what? Are you telling me that you would rather have David De Gea than Gigi Buffon? If I could turn back the clock, right, and had a magical time machine and brought Peter Schmeichel back to the future, right, he would be the best goalkeeper in the world because he was world-class. World-class.
I'll be real with you. I'd rather him than Chet. I'd say that for free.
But this is what I'm saying. World-class goalkeepers. I think Van der Sar. I think even Bodo Illgner. I'm thinking Oliver Kahn. I'm thinking Walter Zenga back in the day. De Gea wouldn't lace their boots. Wouldn't touch him. This guy's had his eye on Real Madrid since the beginning of last season, right? Yeah. And we kept him because, obviously, for whatever reason, apparently the Real Madrid's fax machine didn't work. Who uses faxes in this day and age? I don't know, right? But at the end of the day, he's going to go this summer. If we're going to get 60 million for him, fine, get 60 million for him because you know what? I don't even think he's all that, to be fair. A goalkeeper that I'd rather save with his feet than his hands. Okay. Did you see Jagielka's goal? Nutmegged him. Jagielka. Nutmegged him.
This is the thing. I'm with you all the way, Stel. I mean, again, Chig and I, we've talked about the slow decline. We said, is Czech on the bubble? And this is something that you're talking about, the mentality of it. That it's been 18 months of, I know I'm going. We all know I'm going. I'd be surprised if he hasn't already cleaned out his locker, to be honest with you. And he's become super, super complacent. De Gea, I don't know. I'm not one to judge. I don't like the idea of world class unless you are, and the players that you're talking about, stuff, players that consistently do it year in, year out, year in, year out. Guys that give you 8 out of 10 every single week. And they're not around. They're just not around.
You're getting a lot of heat in the chat room.
Not the Premiership, anyway. They're just not around, The best example I can give you is Coutinho. Felipe has been brilliant for us this season. Intermittently. When he's wanted to do it, he's been absolutely brilliant. We know he's going to Barcelona. We know. And anybody that tells you any differently is just lying to themselves at this juncture, I'm afraid. We know he's going. And we've had 9 out of 10s out of Coutinho. We've had 8 out of 10s. We've had a lot of 4s and a lot of 5s. There's just no consistency. And what can you do? At this juncture, what can you do? There's nothing that I can physically do. I can't take him out for a drink and say, hey, listen, Phil, here's the crack. And why the hell would he listen to me anyway? So...
Stel, you're getting a lot of grief about not calling De Gea world class. So I must have
whatever.
Oh,
Okay.
in the chat room.
listen. It's an incendiary statement. It is an incendiary statement. But you
Oh.
and I know Stel enough. You and I know
No,
Stel
because
well enough to know that he's right, and it's a
But
horrible
Cheeks, see,
thing that people are not willing to accept. People
this
are
is
not
the
willing
thing.
to listen to the truth
You got
anymore.
people don't understand what I'm trying to say, right? When I hear the word world class, right? I've been watching football since I was 5 years old. I'm 37 this year, yeah? Right? I've seen probably the best footballers of this generation. Okay? Right? Your Zidanes. That's world class. Ronaldo, world class. And I'm talking about R9, world class. Okay, R7 at the moment. You're Messi, world class. The greatest ever players. If you're going to do a world 11, right, of all time, is David De Gea going to be one of those names in the six,
Let me
4 or 5 teams?
On that point, let me ask you a question. Is De
This is what I'm
Gea...
saying. People saying, "Oh, De Gea's not world class." What are you talking about? No,
Two
he's not
questions.
world class if you compare it to.
Two questions. Forget world class for a second. Is De Gea the best Premier League goalkeeper?
No.
Is De Gea in the top 3 best Premier League goalkeepers?
Probably, yeah. Probably in the top 3, yeah.
Top 2?
No.
Really? Wow. I must have disagree with that. I've got to be honest. And I hate United with a passion.
Listen.
It
is.
I hate it with a passion, but even I disagree with that.
Goalkeeper is like, go through the list of all the goalkeepers in the Premiership, and the majority of them are downright poor. Poor. It is one of the most important positions on the pitch, and in the 25, 26 years since they stopped the back pass, we still have goalkeepers that cannot kick the ball to a fullback 12 yards away. Like, some element of realism. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I agree with Stel, right? I think Pickford is going to be the kiddie, right? The only thing that Pickford's problem is maybe he isn't quite tall enough, right? In the modern era, where we've gone through this evolution in the Premiership, where every goalkeeper has to be 6'5", every goalkeeper has to be 6'5", has to be able to come and claim the ball, right? That is an idea that is on the wane. That idea.
Yeah, but Robby, see, this is the thing. I'm old school in my mentality, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm old school in my mentality, right? I see the goalkeepers like back in the day when I was watching your David Seamans, your Peter Schmeichels, John Lukic, Bruce Grobbelaar, right? Even David James to a certain extent, he was bang average, you know. But you know what? They still had a commanding presence in their box. Right? When the ball came out when the ball came in from a cross or a corner, the goalkeeper would come out and collect it. And if he wasn't going to collect it, he would smash the ball out of the way. And if he's got his teammate in the way or the opponent, he's smashing them out of the way. He's getting rid of it. Yep. Yeah, is in Pampers. He doesn't have command of his area.
Correct.
Can I ask a question from the chat room? Just because you are getting a lot of fucking comments about this, right? So let me ask you this question. So James, who ironically enough is a Chelsea fan, asks a question, and he asks, name 2 goalkeepers in the Premier League, first of all, that are better, and then secondly, name 2 goalkeepers that you think are world class.
2 goalkeepers in the Premier League that are better than De Gea. Well, the top 2 teams, you got Lloris and Courtois.
Okay, you think Courtois is better than De Gea?
I think, yeah.
I'll have Schmeichel Jr. as well. Thank you.
Time out. He's got he can catch crosses. He's not scared to come out and collect balls. He's got good starting position, right? He narrows angles. He doesn't try to save the ball with his feet all of the time. What? Okay. Well, because I'm not a FIFA fanboy, then I don't play with a joypad and put the hair in goal. You know, stat number 96. He's a world-class goalkeeper. Come on, give me a break. Come on.
Okay, so 2 goalkeepers that are world class. That was his actual
class.
World class.
What my interpretation of world class?
Your interpretation. So he wants to have an idea of what you consider world class.
There's only one goalkeeper that's world class at the moment. Only one.
Really? And that's the big Bayern man, I take it.
No.
Wow. So, tell me, because I'm gonna have to wait for this. Tell me.
There's a certain guy that's almost 40 years old that plays for Juventus, who's been consistent since he was 17 years old. 17 years old. 17 years old at Juventus since he was what, 18?
Bruv.
20 years at one club, dominating
Bro.
leagues. A club like that.
He's one of the best goalkeepers to ever been.
One of the best ever. None of this nonsense about.
But now? Are we talking about now?
Yeah. I agree. I find myself in agreement, man. I like Manny Neuer, but listen.
People
will ask a question about. People will ask that question. Go on, Stel.
Robby, let me interrupt you 2 seconds. Yeah, Manuel Neuer, right, is just a German Fabian Barthez. What Barthez was doing 10 years ago? Listen. What Barthez was doing 10 years ago, Neuer's doing now. Oh, I'm a sweeper goalkeeper. Oh wow, because Barthez didn't do that. Give me a break. What? Because listen, let me tell you something. Manuel Neuer, put him in goal, right, for an Arsenal or a Liverpool or a Man United or a Chelsea. He ain't gonna be this superb goalkeeper. Right, when you're playing in the Bundesliga, right, against no marks, right, and you got a back four like that, right, that constantly keeps the ball, that knows how to keep possession, that can protect the goal, and what? So what?
Stel, you've lit up like I've never seen.
Because you got modern day FIFA fanboys. That, you know, like saying they're playing with, you know, triangle is going to chase the goalkeeper and he can pass the ball left and right. Man, well, no, give me a break. There were better German goalkeepers back in the 70s, man. Ever heard of Meyer? Have you ever asked Meyer? That's a goalkeeper.
Let me ask you a question. Both a question, right? So, John Silver, I'm going to ask this question just because he's a big supporter of mine. I like the guy a lot. So, I'm going to ask him about these keepers. He's going to throw them at you in terms of opinion. So he's already said not.
One minute. So we've gone from chasing the top 4 of the Premier League to top 4 goalkeepers in the world.
You set this alight. The minute you said you don't rate the Gea, opposite fans, people who don't even support United are lighting up the chat room right now. I don't know what you're talking about right now.
This is the funny thing. Like, you've got non-United supporters defending a Man United goalkeeper. How does that even make sense? What teams do you lot support, man?
Oh my gosh, I've never seen a chat room like this, right? So you talked about 3 on this list.
You want entertainment, you got it.
Right? So to be fair, he agrees with you about Quartar. He thinks Quartar is a world-class goalkeeper. But you said you don't believe that's the case. You think he's the best in the league, but you don't think he's world-class.
But again, are your listeners not listening? I said my interpretation of world-class. Maybe in their generation, maybe in 10, 20 years' time when I mean, I don't know how old these guys are, do you know what I mean? So I can't really speak for them. But when I say my interpretation of world-class, I'm talking about world-class ever, right? I'm talking about your Schmeichels, your Oliver Kahns, your Hans van Breukelen was a fantastic goalkeeper. Michel Prudhomme of Belgium was fantastic goalkeeper. This is my interpretation of world class. You cannot tell me that these days, when you're telling me, oh, Luis Suarez is a world class striker, yeah, but who would you rather have? Luis Suarez or R9 Ronaldo? Who would you rather have?
Is that aimed at me? I'll take Ronaldo. Anyway. I'll take Ronaldo over Suarez every day.
Really?
I'm not talking about
I'll take Ronaldo every day.
I'm talking about R9 Brazil Ronaldo, not Cristiano. I'm talking about Brazil Ronaldo.
Absolutely, I'm with you all the way.
Yeah.
I would take R9 in his prime.
Okay.
But this is what I'm saying. That's my interpretation of world class, bruv. That's world class. Yeah. That's seminal. You ain't ever gonna have a play like that again.
Just I'm just looking at the chat here, and like it is kicking off. It's fully lit.
Oh, because it's still right here. I'm telling you that.
Bro. Like, get your dab on and all that. Right, listen. James Bowman says, listen, I'm 15 years old, mate, and I live in the now. Can we just come back to what I wanted to say about it? No, Stel, calm down, bro.
I knew he was going to laugh at that.
No, listen. No, listen. With respect to James, we have all been there. We were all 15 once. When I was 15, I thought Teddy Sheringham was absolute dog shit. Right? And I was proven wrong. Right? And I will take that. I'll take my hat off. Teddy Sheringham was a fantastic footballer. At 15 years old, I was wrong. I'm not having a dig at James. All I'm saying to you is, what I'm trying to say is, right, I fully agree with a lot of what Stel said, and some of the goalkeepers he's mentioned were absolutely fucking awesome. awesome goalkeepers, right?
Do you know what? Do you want to laugh
But what I'm saying to you is this, though, Stel, is things are changing. Things are changing. You and I know this. I'm talking to the chat room. Things are changing. The way that the goalkeeper's duties, their skills are evolving. And at the moment, De Gea is treading water. That's why he's not world class, because he isn't pushing himself. This is a mentality thing again. This is about improving yourself. Who was the goalkeeping coach when he arrived at United?
Chris Woods.
Chris Woods, and then they brought in the lad.
That's when David Moyes was there. The year before was it Tony Coton? I can't remember. Tony Coton was when Fergie was there. It might have been Tony Coton.
Was it not Eric Steele?
Tony Coton. Eric Steele was with Tony Coton. Yes, they might have been. Yeah, it might have been together.
So here's the thing, right? Now here's my thing, right? And I'm doing this a lot at the moment because, like, I'm helping my brother do his level 4 rugby coaching thing with the RFU. So I'm reading a lot of stuff about coaching and dynamics and all this sort of stuff. Eric Steele learned how to speak Spanish so that he could improve David De Gea. How many keepers, goalkeeping coaches, goalkeeping keepers, coaches, any coaches make the effort to learn a different language? The only other one I can think of is Brendan Rodgers learned Spanish or Portuguese so he could talk with Luis Suarez.
Because he thought they was going to get the Real Madrid job. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, Brendan. Hey, listen. I'm gonna deviate a bit.
I think it's best because you're getting away. I think it's best.
Listen. I'll let these 15-year-olds talk about Courtois or whatever. Listen, when I was 15 years old, who was the Arsenal manager when I was 15 years old?
Bruce Rioch.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So these Arsenal fans complaining about Arsene Wenger, yeah. Remember, if it wasn't for Arsene Wenger, you would probably be West Brom now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Did
Just
Bruce
remember
Rioch
that.
sign Bergkamp?
There you go. See, before Bruce Rioch, wasn't it Stuart Houston
John
or someone
Hartson
like that?
and Dennis Bergkamp. These big signings, wasn't it? If I remember.
Yeah. Do you remember back in the day they had people like Glenn Helder and who else did they have? They had John Jensen.
Oh, John Jensen.
Who else? They have players like. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, you need to just lay off Wenger. I know that you're just fed up with him. I know you're fed up with seeing now. But listen, it could be worse. You could be. I don't know. Sunderland.
You could be Leighton Orient.
You could have David Moyes as your manager. Do you remember? Do you remember like 2-3 seasons ago when Owen Coyle was doing reasonably well with was it Burnley or Bolton? And then someone actually wrote an article saying Owen Coyle should be the next Arsenal manager. I'm thinking, what? Owen Coyle is the next Arsenal manager. I'm like, what's he doing now? Like, he was sacked from Blackburn.
He was over in America for a while and lasted about 5 minutes, didn't he? Coyle.
Yeah. Then he went to Blackburn and they got rid of him.
Yeah. Well, that's Blackburn. What can you do? Like,
no. No, Cheek is just confused.
Mate, get some grief.
I'm defending you in the chat room, bro. That's what I'm trying to put out some fires here, man. My goodness. Let's move on because Brian, we're going to get stuck on. Right.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You want people to buy. I'll get people to buy. I do not care.
Right. So back to race. Ultimately, given the way all teams are performing right now, because the way I view Liverpool and United and Arsenal, I feel like, at the moment we're kind of going game by game, and it just depends what Arsenal shows up. Liverpool, if it's a big team they're playing, I make them play for it. If it's anything below probably the top half, they're in a lot of trouble. It just seems to be how it's shaking down at the moment. And United, to tell you the truth, I've not watched United once. I watched one half of a game, and I was so bored. I just thought I can't watch this anymore. So ultimately, how do you see the top 4 race panning out?
I see Man United focusing on the Europa League as they quite rightly should. They've only really got Schalke to be afraid of, really, and they might lose to Ajax because you just don't know. So and That's fair enough. I'm a bit worried that City will cement their position above us, and Arsenal will balls it up because they are mentally weak and fragile. Sorry, chat room. I know you're not going to like being told horrible truths about bellends that just aren't fucking trying hard enough for you. But, you know, this is what happens when you employ too many French footballers. Sooner or later, they're going to remind you that they're French.
White flag.
Cheese-eating surrender monkeys, or whatever the phrase is. Not going to happen. So I'm going to say Liverpool for 4th place. Obviously, I'm going to say that. I am a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, but Liverpool fans are confident. They are confident. I've spoken to many who think they're going to make it. So it's not unusual. Stel, what about you?
Well, which Man United game did you which Man United game did you watch and you got bored and turned over?
To be fair, it was a Europa League game. I do have to preface that. It was a Europa League game. And I was just like,
everyone should be doing other things apart from watching football on a Thursday night, right? Yeah. Right, listen, I'm going to tell you this now, and your chat room is probably going to just go on fire now. I'm telling you this now.
Yeah, okay, go on.
I think United have played boring football probably 4 league games this season. Probably 4 league games. So, you know, the stats are there. If you don't want to just check the stats and see how many shots and how much possession we've had in all these games this season, it's there to see that we are creating chances. We're creating more chances than we did under Van Gaal. You know, I'm just going to... People seem to forget. I think a few days ago, people were saying, oh, United rely on Ibrahimovic. Yeah, that's right. But Ibrahimovic has scored 28 goals since joining us. Rooney has scored 28 goals in 28 months. What does that say? Right? You know, you've got... well, there you go. People forget that last season, we were winless in 8 games under Van Gaal. We went 6 hours without scoring. So we have improved there. Okay, if we'd have created our chances, if we'd have taken our chances this season, like against the likes of Stoke, your Hulls, your Burnleys, we'd probably be 2nd or 3rd right now. But if my auntie had bollocks, then she'd be my uncle. So we can't really rely on ifs and buts. What I'm saying is that, you know, it's been a season of transition. Jose always, I'm referring to him as first name like I'm Alan Brazil now. Mourinho always seems to need a season to bed in, to get things right. And don't forget, this isn't his squad. You know, is Darmian a Mourinho player? I mean, let's be honest. Darmian is an Italian defender that can't defend. That's how that makes sense. So yeah, in the summer he's going to spend big, and there's going to be more boiled piss, you know, on Twitter or whatever. But who cares? But yeah, you'll see a different United next season. I'm just happy to win that Europa League, get in the Champions League next season. And if we don't win it, so what? I mean, fuck it. It's only one season. You know, what's one half decent season out of, you know, 3 or 4 that we've had dreadful ones? Do you know what I mean? So. Listen, I'm not optimistic about top 4. I think he's got one eye on the Europa League. I think the games that you're going to see before the Europa League games, he's going to have like kind of rest a few players. Like today, for example, you know, obviously De Gea didn't play for whatever reason, but I think one of the reasons was because, or B, should I say, he's saving him for Anderlecht on Thursday, and we just need to take each game as it comes. As cliche as it sounds, every game from now to the end of the season is a cup final, really. And that's probably based on who we're playing. It isn't a kind calendar, but who gives a fuck? You just got to take these games and just don't be a pussy about it. You know, be a man. Take it like a man. Simple.
That's kind of what my mate, who also supports United, reckons. He reckons that Mourinho doesn't particularly give that much of a shit about the league, because I think his entire focus is going into winning Europa and getting Champions League spot anyway.
Listen, Mourinho's thinking, if I can't win the league, then who cares? Do you know what I mean? If I'm not going to win the league, then
there's nothing. That's right. There's nothing for United to be afraid of. It's quite different from last year with Liverpool. That there were 2 or 3 sides you're like, oh hello, this could be a bit. You know, there's nothing to be afraid of for United in the Europa League this year. Nothing. They'll beat Celta Vigo with their hands tied behind their back.
The only thing is, Rob,
might be a bit dodge.
The only thing is, Rob, I was talking to Rodri Giggs. Yeah, little plug for myself.
Oh, he's on the show
Rodri
the other
Giggs,
week,
yeah. He was on the show the other day, yeah. And we were talking about the Europa League, and it was just like, well, yeah, every team in there is beatable, including us, obviously. But every team for United in that competition is a banana skin. They're not like your Atleticos or your Barcelonas where you're thinking shit, or your Bayerns where you're going to get spanked 10-2. But they're potential banana skins where, you know, you concede an away goal in the last 5 minutes, and then it just changes the course of the competition. If we had a settled back line, and a back line that I could say, yeah, I'm confident we can keep clean sheets, or we won't make mistakes, then I'll say we're going to win this competition. But again, when I see Rojo making the silly mistakes, you know, he loses his rag sometimes, he mistimes challenges. He should have been sent off 3 times this season, you know, for stupid, reckless tackles which could have ended careers. As I said, Darmian is awful. Blint is awful. Our best defenders are Bailly and Valencia, and Valencia is a right winger. What does that say? So, like I said, if we had the solid back 4, then I can say, yeah, you know, we've got a very, very, very good chance of winning this. I'll make ourselves favourites, but I still think Leon just slightly better, man.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and you know, same thing with Liverpool. That if we had a settled back 4, we'd probably be home and hose in terms of the top 4 position. But I see where you're coming from. The other side of the coin is, yes, you're absolutely right to be worried about United defensively, but you've got a couple of players up front that can, you know, bail you out. Quite, you know, we've seen it so many times because, you know, with my Preston hat on, I'll say this: Ibrahimovic has been a joy to watch in the Premiership. Because I finally got to see him do it at this level, and that's always a question mark about can he do it in the Premiership. And he's proven at 36 that he can. And all right, he can't run around a great deal, and he relies an awful lot on the other lads around him to do a lot of his work for him. But, you know, his record speaks for itself. His record speaks for itself. You know, if you have one guy that you want to take a penalty to save your life, I'd have Zlatan every day of the week, quite frankly.
Apart from the Bournemouth game.
We don't talk about that, do we?
All right. I mean,
well, again, another game where we dropped points needlessly.
Yeah.
You know, the game was in the bag. So,
it's happening everywhere, Stel. It's happening everywhere. You know, we haven't touched on it, but we haven't really touched on it. But everybody from Southampton down is in the relegation battle. Everybody.
Yeah. I know, mate. I know. But listen, like, as I said, and I keep repeating myself all the time, not on this show, but obviously like on Twitter and whatnot. I'm willing to give this manager a chance because he's got a fantastic track record of winning trophies.
Stel,
he's a winner.
He was never going to fix everything in one season.
No.
And anybody that this again, you know, what can you do? Klopp was never going to fix everything inside of 6 months, and anybody that thought differently is quite frankly wrong. You know, Guardiola has got a load of work at City. He's got all the money that you could ever imagine. He's got a load of work to do.
Yeah, but Rob, let me tell you something about Guardiola.
Guardiola.
Right? And listen, this isn't me, you know, just going off on one. But the thing is, I think it's very unfair how Guardiola is just getting away with everything, the criticism, whatnot. Because if you want to compare and contrast United from last season, City are worse off points wise than they were last season. Right? They're out of the Champions League at what is it, the second round, the second stage.
Yeah.
They didn't even get past the first knockout stage.
Yeah.
You know, and Guardiola spent what 30 million more than Mourinho. So, hang about, what's going on there? Why is he exempt from any kind of criticism? Why? Because, as Rob Harris said, we need to learn from him. Are you serious? Learn from what? What? Have a mental breakdown and then piss off to New York? Nah.
Okay. So, final thoughts in terms of, based on what you said about where you feel your respective teams will finish in the top 4. And your hopes going into next season, what would you say that is for you, Robby?
If we get top 4, we stand a chance of keeping hold of Coutinho. If we don't make top 4, he's gone. If we make top 4, we have a strong chance of bringing in 4 or 5 top level 4-star players with some European experience. So we stand a good chance in Europe, but watch us fall away in the Premiership again. So we have a huge pool of ability. there's people talking about selling Sturridge, right? Here's one for you. Sturridge came on yesterday and changed the game. He came on and Stoke just dropped 10 foot deeper, 10 meters deeper into the pitch, right? And we're talking about selling a guy, not based on his ability, which is absolutely excellent, but on his, principally because his face doesn't seem to fit and because they're paying him a lot of money. So, but where do the goals come from? Right? Where do the goals come from? We've done really, really well this year. We've exceeded my expectations in many areas, but next season is a huge ask. And with European football, it becomes a lot more exciting, but it also becomes a lot harder.
Rob, let me ask you something quickly. Sorry, Chig, I don't know what waste your time, mate. But we spoke about the gegenpressing. We spoke about how he batters his players in training. We saw Coutinho get an injury, the same injury as he got same time last season, December time. I think it was a hammy. The most frequent injuries at Liverpool are hammies and thigh injuries. Right?
Yeah,
and it's probably down to the way that he trains them. I don't know. It might even be the training pitch itself. But you've got a pretty small squad in comparison to the rest, right? And, he's blooded a lot of youngsters, I get it. And obviously you got that 2-year suspension with the academy and everything like that. But you haven't had European football.
No.
If you had European football, do you think you'd be where you are now?
No. But I think we might still be in Europe.
Right, okay.
The biggest mistake he made was selling little Joe Allen. Hindsight is 20/20. But the biggest mistake he made was selling Joe Allen because Joe, much like as we found with Gini Wijnaldum, who's been brilliant for us this season, can fill a myriad of roles across the midfield and is somebody that operates very well inside of gegenpressing and is generally quite a durable lad in terms of injury. We've had a problem where Lallana's gone away with England twice now and come back injured. That one the other week where he stayed on against, I think it was against Germany, was it? No? Spain, excuse me. And he stayed on whilst injured. Has absolutely done my head in a little bit, to be honest with you. The summer is about bringing players in of a higher quality, and it is also about there's been this what's happened at Liverpool is he has given players the opportunities to succeed, but he has also given players the opportunity to fail. Players like Lovren might well be on the back burner. He might well be finding himself out of the team. He might well be looking for a new club. He is not the only one. There are 3 or 4 lads who are on the bubble. At this point, whether they realise it or not, they're playing for their position. They're playing for their jobs at Liverpool. Where do they go from there? Yeah, they need 6 or 7. Do not be surprised if he buys 12 players. I expect him to sign 6 or 7, but don't be surprised if he buys 12. It just goes crazy. Particularly if we sell Coutinho, because it's a scattergun approach to finding somebody to replace him. When Suarez went, we had one guy to replace him on our list, Sanchez, and that was it. There was nobody else. We found somebody that does something like him in Firmino. Took us 18 months to find him. If Coutinho goes, we have nobody on our list. There's nobody on the list that Melissa Reddy, who's a very good Liverpool-based journalist, there's nobody on the list that even looks like a Coutinho kind of a player that we're looking at. So, trouble. Potentially.
Stel, what about you? Considering where United will finish, what are your hopes for the end of the season, stroke next season?
Blimey. Okay, well, given our fixture list and the potential Europa League run, I use the word potential, being the operative word before everyone starts jumping on my back. I think 6th place is where we'll end. What will happen in the summer is that we'll spend big, he'll bring in the players that he wants, and he'll get rid of Deadwood and boil more piss. If we end up in the top 4, which I doubt will happen, but if we get that Champions League spot, he'll spend big, bring in the players that he wants, and boil more piss. Bottom line is it's going to be the same result. He's going to boil more piss because that's what Mourinho does. He winds people up. It gets the attention on him. It deflects the attention on the club. Listen, make no mistake about it. Pogba hasn't been worth a penny of that £89 million. I'm telling you this now. Hasn't been a penny. But from a commercial standpoint, the suits love him. The amount of new deals and sponsorships and awareness, that we got a fucking hashtag done for him, for fuck's sake. This is what I'm talking about, modern day football. It makes me fucking sick, man. Seriously. But again, we've got a nucleus there. We've got players that, Mourinho has improved. Herrera isn't as much of a passion merchant as what he used to be. He's got this element of snidiness, and he's actually picking a pass now. Okay, Lingard has done fairly well since he's come in. I think, again, it's a confidence thing, and he's done well to get a new fucking deal, I'll tell you that. But then you see players like Bailly, who I didn't really know too much about, to be fair. He's come in, he's impressed me. Valencia has been solid. Even Luke Shaw has come back, and people were cussing Mourinho the other day, saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have said what he said," but he had a fantastic game today.
So I'm just going to ask you a quick question about that. Luke Shaw,
go on.
What is your whole opinion on that mini saga? Because that seemed really weirdly passive aggressive from
right. I said this on my show the other day. 3 managers have said the same thing about Luke Shaw: Van Gaal, Hodgson, and Mourinho. His attitude, right? Make no mistake about it. Luke Shaw is his own worst enemy. Granted, he had that long, lengthy layoff and whatever. It was a serious injury, but when he came back, right, he was showing glimpses that he was getting better. However, when you're at a club like Man United, like Arsenal, like Liverpool, like Man City, the expectations are up here. You're not Southampton where you're down here in the middle, and okay, you do your best. It's okay. No. You're up here. You're with the elite. Yeah. And what Luke Shaw was doing, instead of applying himself in training, listening to his manager, taking advice of his teammates, he was sitting there watching Babe Station, eating pizza. Right. That's not what a professional does, and it's no surprise he put on like half a stone or 2 stone, whatever it was. And all of a sudden, his brother tweets something about Mourinho, and then the next day, Luke Shaw is training in his house with these, resistance bands. That's not telling me anything. For me, he's a fantastic prospect. He's got a lot of potential, and he's got a lot of ability. Getting forward is fantastic. He can deliver a ball in the boxes. What you want from a left back. Potentially, he could be the best in Europe. Potentially. There's that word again. But again, it's down to him whether he wants to apply himself. And what Mourinho said the other day, good. I'm glad he called him out, because no one else had the balls to. No one else does.
Do you think Zlatan will leave in the summer? Or do you hope he leaves in the summer?
I don't hope he leaves. I think listen, when Van Nistelrooy was like, okay, I tell you, that's a bad example. Wayne Rooney, right? When he joined United, through the years he's been at United, he's played with Henrik Larsson, Solskjaer, Tevez, Sahar, Van Nistelrooy. He's played with a whole host of strikers. Look at Danny Welbeck. When he was coming through, Ruud Van Nistelrooy. I've seen pictures of Van Nistelrooy training Danny Welbeck and all the other youngsters. His experience, what he passes down to the youngsters, you cannot pay that. You cannot buy that. It's you ask any football. When we signed Laurent Blanc, people were laughing. Oh, you signed Laurent Blanc, he's 36 years old. But let me tell you what, ask Rio Ferdinand, ask Wes Brown what they thought about Laurent Blanc, what he brought to them.
A mature,
because, as I said,
on stuff.
Yeah, World Cup winners, European Cup winners. This is experience you cannot buy, right? And this is one of the reasons why Arsenal are not winning trophies at this level, at league titles and European Cups. It's not just on the manager. They don't have players that have won it. Okay, you got your Ozils who's won World Cup, but really, he's not that kind of player that's going to galvanize you. He doesn't bring that confidence in. But if you've got an experienced head, someone with a calming presence in the middle of the park, someone in central defense, like if you had someone like Steve Bold, for fuck's sake, I know he didn't win anything like international level or European wise, but if you had someone like Steve Bold with the experience in the heart of your defense, marshalling your defenders, giving that confidence. Look at John Terry. John Terry's not playing for Chelsea, but I'll tell you something. I bet he's having a word with Gary Cahill and David Luiz and them lot, saying, right, this is how you do it. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. You can't buy that experience. So I hope Zlatan does stay, because players like Rashford, okay, I've been slating Rashford and bantering people off because, Rashford is another one of those FIFA fanboy, like pace 99, 2 goals in 20 games, but he can learn from Ibrahimovic. Lingard can learn from Ibrahimovic. Pogba can learn from Ibrahimovic. Listen, he's a model pro. Forget the whole, the ego that comes with him, right? Cantona had that. But I'll tell you what, look at that class of 92. Look at what they achieved. If it wasn't for Cantona there, they wouldn't have gone on to do these things. And Robbie's nodding his head because he knows I'm right.
Absolutely. You cannot...
15-year-old watching the United win the double. Come on.
Listen. You cannot put any... They're like gold dust, and they're priceless. They truly are like gold dust. These lads, like Zlatan, like Eric Cantona, Liverpool are doing everything in their power at the moment to keep Lucas Leiva at the club for one reason, because they keep the standards high in the training ground. They keep the attitude right in the dressing room, right? They essentially are big brothers to so many players, right? And there are not very many of them around. And by the way, with the greatest respect, Arsenal ain't got none of them. Arsenal ain't got none of them. They ain't got one. And do you know who's the one for Spurs? The goalie. Lloris is a really good leader for Spurs. Keeps them standards high on the pitch and off it.
But see, the thing, what happens in the background is as important as what happens on the pitch, right? You know, look at Bayern Munich, right? Look at their backroom staff. They've got Karl-Heinz Rummenigge there. They've got all these former pros that live and breathe Bayern Munich, right? If Arsenal brought in, I don't know, your Gilberto Silvas, your Edus, you know, just these names that have been there and won it for the club, Patrick Vieira, bring these names in, right? Let them nurture the youngsters. Let them, because Arsenal haven't been bringing through great youngsters. They haven't done it for a while, have they? Let's be fair. You know, and you know, it could be I don't know, something to do with the youth academy. I don't know, but you need these players there to have a presence to, you know, rub their experience off on other players. And again, it's vital. And you know, don't be surprised if Xavi Alonso ends up at Liverpool's academy teaching kids.
Yeah, I've said that. I'd rather have Xavi than Steven Gerrard. Like, don't get me wrong, like, you know, Steve and everything. He's Steve, so we have to go, Steve. We have to. You have to. It's the law in Liverpool. But Xavi's got a huge amount to teach them. We have had it with Kolo Touré. Like, Kolo was brought in specifically to try and you know, be a big brother to a lot of players. And yeah, you know, again, we talk about this evolution of what's happening. What happens off the pitch is just as important as what happens on the pitch these days. And that's a bit of a culture shock to a lot of players. It's definitely a culture shock to people like Luke Shaw that have been asked some very difficult questions and he's had the wrong answers, you know? He's not the first player either that Jose's made a bit of an example of, you know, a bit of a whipping boy. But if the shoe fits, then fair dues, you know? Can we talk about how good Dele Alli is before we go?
No. We're going to get things back on the Arsenal. So what I think will happen, we'll probably end up finishing 5th. Breaks my heart to say it. St. Tottenham Day is cancelled. Our made-up holiday. But ultimately, somebody asked me in the chat room, what do I think about it? It don't matter. It doesn't matter. The day was made up purely because it was a victory we could take out of defeat. A day that was made up to say, well, at least we finished above Tottenham. And that, okay, as brilliant as they performed this season, that should not be an aim for us every single year. The aim for us should be
about, isn't it?
One thing and one thing only, should be winning the league. And what I'm sick of is this idea that, oh, well, the league's gone, oh, but maybe we can focus on finishing above Tottenham. No! That mentality is where we're at fault as fans. We have almost put that on the players to say, well, that's acceptable. The league's gone, at least focus on finishing above Tottenham. Listen, it's nice laughing at them every year, and I enjoy it greatly. But ultimately, what the fuck does that do? Is that paying the bills?
No.
The seats, is that attracting the best players? The fact that Arsenal finish above Tottenham? We should. We're a bigger fucking club.
No, you're not.
Sick of it. In my definitely are. We most definitely are. Let's not fall out, Stel. Let's not fall out. So, my ultimate hope is that the manager, we do some major surgery to our team.
Massive surgery needed. Massive surgery needed. Bring Zlatan.
mentality changes, and who knows? We might even do something rare and actually push for a league next season.
Oh, you never know. We all live in hope, Chiggy. We all live in hope, mate.
Right, so let's wrap this thing up because my gosh, it's been exhausting. And if I look at the chat room, it'll only be more criticism for Stel, and Stel will be set off. And so let the people know where they can find you. And Stel, if you get abuse on the back of this, it's your fault. That's all I'm going to say. It's your fault.
As the famous Count on Sesame Street once said, zero is the number of fucks given.
Right, let them know where they can find you.
That's a fish. That's people biting. You can find me on Twitter at @OnAMadness. I'm the guy with a crisp packet covering my face because I don't smile that often. Yeah, that's why. So yeah, you know what? To be honest, I was reading these comments in the chat room, and there's some productive words, some productive insults. I'll give him that. There's one guy that loves using capitals. I don't know, maybe he wasn't hugged as a kid, but no. To be fair, everyone's got an opinion, and like I said, my interpretation of world class is different to others. You know, if you want to say that Manuel Neuer is a world class goalkeeper, that's fair enough. I'm not here to argue with you. It's just an opinion, you know. But I'd still take Peter Schmeichel or David Seaman over them. Yeah, on a madness. Oh yeah, I've got a show called Shoot the Defense as well. Where I'm actually
the most unenthusiastic plug yourself better.
Yeah, but listen. I love coming on this show because I can be less professional than what I am on my show. On my show, I'm straight down the middle. I try and be as fair as possible. I get loads of ex-guests. I mean, as you know, Lee Harper used to play for Arsenal. He's a good friend of mine. Comes on the show every now and again. Leon Knight, as you know, does Night Vision, KV. Rowan Ricketts used to play for Arsenal, Spurs. Interviewed the Chicago Fire general manager the other day, so I'm hoping to get Schweinsteiger on soon. Fingers crossed. So yeah, we're doing well. We're doing well, and thanks to you guys for tuning in, and thanks for having me on, Chris and Robby. Great hat, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, Chicago Fire.
Yeah, I really like it. Robby, where can they find you?
You can find me on the Twitter at Robby Richmond. It's Robby with a Y. It's Dr. Robert Richmond now. So show me a little bit more of respect, please, boys. A bit of decorum. And there's a picture of me looking suave whilst having a shit on a toilet.
I can't verify that, but knowing Robby, I don't doubt him. If you're listening to this for the first time, hit that subscribe button. And you can follow me on Twitter at Colossal Chig. All the handles will be, if they're not already, will be in the description below. And thank you for sticking with us. It has gone a little bit over an hour, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Even Stel's controversialness and Robby's constant wit. I hope you've enjoyed it. And no doubt.
I've gone down in somebody's estimations, apparently.
I've seen it.
Oh, no, Alex doesn't like that I've got a huge cock.
Stop antagonizing them. All right, let me end this thing. All right, people. We're out of here. Take care.